Everyone, and welcome back to Sport Hive. We are here on transfer deadline day. We've got about 45 minutes remaining of the transfer window. We're going to be going for a little roundup of the news, talking about some signings that are already completed, and just keeping up with anything that does happen over the next 45 minutes. Now, I'm here with Matt, who, as we know, is a Man United fan. So why not start off with Amrabat? What do you think? Are you happy about the signing?
It's a sign we needed to get done because we were obviously getting exposed in the midfield. So I'm happy it's done. I'm not happy with how tedious the process has been getting it done. But yeah, I'm happy. I personally think that signing should have been done before Mount. I think it was more priority than Mount, in my opinion.
Anyway. It was yeah, I still find the Mount signing a bit strange, but
it doesn't seem that he's got a place, does it? In that midfield three.
It's an odd one. It's definitely an odd one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't really see how he fits into your plans.
Neither do I. And then we've still got Donny van de Beek staying by the looks of it now as well.
Yeah, this is what I was saying to you the other day. You know, you've got it's a bit of a mash of a midfield, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
With Eriksen and Mount now, and now Amrabat, and you've still got is McTominay going anywhere?
No.
So you've still got McTominay, you've still got Van der Beek, you've got
Kobe
Mount,
Mainoo,
Bruno,
that young one
Casemiro, and now Amrabat. So, what do you think is your best midfield right now?
Bruno, Amrabat, and Casemiro.
That's what you would go with.
Yeah, so I don't understand why we splashed majority of our budget on Mount.
So yeah, that was my next question then. So then obviously you've just spent £60 million on Mount.
Yeah.
And now you don't even think he fits into your best midfield.
No, I think his best position is Bruno's position, but I think Bruno's our best player. So how do we make them both work together? You can't.
Well, this was the same, a similar situation to what I said about Havertz going to Arsenal.
Yeah.
That I don't really see how either of those players. I don't see how Mount fits in, particularly at Man United, and I don't see how Havertz fits in at Arsenal either. To be perfectly honest with you, I think both clubs have someone who does what they've probably brought them for better.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, if Havertz is there to sort of head up the midfield and maybe play behind the striker, is he any better at doing that than Odegaard?
No chance.
Probably not. No.
No.
And like you say, Mount to Man United, you know, he's not really probably going to do a better job than Bruno is.
No chance. No chance at all. So, and then we're giving him the number.
You know, I think they're quite strange signings for both clubs. In all honesty, I mean, I'm not complaining. You know, we've walked away with £120 million.
Yeah.
From Havertz, who's underperformed for the majority of his Chelsea career, and obviously Mount underperformed last season.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the whole club was a mess last season, so you can't judge him too harshly. But you know, he wasn't great last season. And judging by a lot of the business we've done this transfer window, it seems like maybe he was correct about not being in our plans.
Even the performances we've seen from Mount so far, like I know preseason doesn't matter, but he was awful in preseason.
Mm-hmm.
He was okay against Tottenham. He wasn't outstanding. Against Wolves, I forgot he was on the pitch. I forgot he was our player. And then he didn't play against Forest, obviously. He was injured. But this isn't good enough for who's meant to be your star man at the minute, because he's been given that number 7 shirt. Ten Hag clearly sees him as the standout signing of the summer, and I don't get it.
They're both. Like I said, I think they're both strange signings for Man United and Arsenal. I don't really see where either of them fit in, but I'm not going to sit here and complain about getting £120 million for the pair of them.
Yeah, it worked perfect for you. You've got the financial fair play shite off you now, thanks to the majority.
We've sold a lot of players.
Yeah. It's a
Now,
complete rebuild.
Gravenberch, as Velv has mentioned here in the comments, Gravenberch is official going to Liverpool. I think it's a very good signing for them.
Cheap
In
as
all
well.
honesty,
45
yeah,
million.
it's a reasonable price,
Hmm.
and especially when you look at the fact that Chelsea have just paid 45 million for Cole Palmer.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely a reasonable price, and yeah, no, I think it'd do. He could do really well for Liverpool. You know, we know that their midfield is a bit of a mess at the moment. They've lost Fabinho, they've lost Henderson.
Ornstein's
You know,
just said something about Greenwood, by the way, if you want to mention it.
is that still on?
Mason Greenwood close to moving from Manchester United to Getafe on loan. Not done yet. Paperwork in process of being finished, but clubs are both optimistic. So it looks like he'll be joining Getafe.
Wow, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that he hasn't gone to a club in England. Put it that way.
But the thing about
And
this,
I can't see any club in England taking him.
the loan aspect, I thought we'd just release him. I didn't think he'd be coming back.
I'm quite surprised you haven't just released him. I can only assume that the idea is that he has a good loan and you're trying to get some sort of compensation out of it.
Or trying to integrate him back into the squad, which
I don't think they will. I think you know we saw it last week when there was sort of leaks around the club that he might come back in,
yeah,
and then there was a lot of backlash, and then all of a sudden they released a statement saying no, he's not coming back. And I feel like maybe I think the leak was probably on purpose to sort of gauge the reaction, you know, because there was a few places all at the same time suddenly started leaking. Oh, Man United are considering bringing him back into the fold. It's being discussed and blah blah blah. And then obviously the reaction, quite rightly, was very negative to that. And then
yeah,
all of a sudden the tune changed.
yeah. It's all
So
mad.
I,
But
I I can't see, even if this loan goes well, you know, I can't ever see him being integrated back into the United squad. And
I
in
don't.
all honesty, I can't see any team in England who are going to take a risk on him
I would say
because
that, but with the statement they put out, they kind of like tried to play this innocence to the public.
they did try that, and I
RJ's in
think
backstage, by the way.
I honestly think it's in my opinion, you know, from what they said over, you know, we've seen evidence and he didn't do what he's been accused of and blah blah blah. Well, the thing that I find very sort of stupid about that is if you genuinely did have some evidence, actual evidence that he didn't do it, well then what reason would you have to not just share that evidence and say, here's the evidence, and that is why we're bringing him back into the club, because you
Yeah,
know we've got this evidence and we know he didn't do it, so we're going to bring him back into the club.
I
But
don't think people would be as annoyed at that.
just say we've got evidence, but we're just going to leave it at that, and we're not going to bring him back into the club, which is why I think there's something fishy about that. You know, I don't really buy that they've got evidence as such that he didn't do what he was accused of. You know,
I'm
if you
assuming.
want to talk about evidence, we've all seen the evidence that's floating around. You know,
Yeah,
I'm assuming about the United player. Is that right? Or what are we on about?
yeah.
we're talking about Mason Greenwood off on
Um,
loan.
let's be just say how it is. But I said it earlier on with Matt. Like, I think it really just was the public appeal, just of like the outrage of him coming back. That's why he didn't come back, because I believe if
This is what I just said a minute ago. I
yeah,
think the leaks about him coming back were on purpose to gauge a reaction, and I
yeah,
think they realised that the reaction was massively negative. But me
yeah,
and Matt were just sort of discussing the aspect of it only being a loan, and we thought that was quite strange that he hasn't
well,
been sold or even just released.
we can't really terminate his contract yet because he hasn't been found guilty yet.
We can mutually terminate it though.
No, but you can mutually terminate it, and he obviously knows that he hasn't got a place at the club anymore.
I know,
Some
yeah,
club
And the
would do
fact
that.
but he
the
has to be
fact that
mutual. I don't think he's going to do that though.
he's got football to play this season, you know.
Yeah, maybe. But
So
look,
I'm
just team
surprised
signing window.
that it hasn't been terminated.
On
But
loan as well. I assume we're paying his wages because I don't think Getafe could afford to.
that is the other aspect of it. Is it purely because Getafe can't afford to purchase him or pay his wages, or
Yeah. I think we're just hell bent on getting him some football this season, and then we make the final decision. And I know they say they've made the final decision now, but I don't think the final decision will be until this loan is ended. Ten Hag did want him back, yes, fellas.
I'll be honest. Yeah, I think it's done. I think regardless of what happens on this loan move, I think his Man United career is finished, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just not his Man United career, but his football career in general should be finished after those videos came
It
out.
should be, but it's not. So
then again, like, who's actually going to sign him though? Genuinely.
well, I said this is what me and Matt were just discussing. I said I can't see any team in England taking a chance on him at all. Nope, RJ's gone. Okay,
He's dipped.
but
He heard enough Greenwood slander.
now obviously you've also picked up Sergio Reguilon on a loan deal. Now I can see you're already laughing about this. So since I've got two Man United fans here,
One.
I might as well get one. Come on, give me your opinion on Sergio Reguilon. Are you happy that you've got him, or do you think it's a bad move? Obviously, it's only a loan.
Not happy, but I understand it. Like, we're not going to splash money on a big left back. We've got two left backs already. It's just unfortunate that they're both injured at the same time. Like, that's the problem here. Reguilon until January is not the end of the world. He's a decent.
It is only till January.
Yeah,
but I must admit, I must admit I rated him before he went to Tottenham.
So did I. We wanted him.
I think he's been. I think he's been very poor in the Premier League.
Well, even under Mourinho,
which is why I'm
under Mourinho,
quite.
he didn't look that bad.
But he didn't look great, did he?
Not great, but he didn't look. he can do a job.
He definitely didn't look like the player we saw before he went to Tottenham.
No.
So I mean, maybe Ten Hag can get a tune out of him.
Well, if he does all the like that's class.
I can't write him off, but it seems like a I don't know. It's an odd one, obviously, but like we say, it's a loan. It's only on till January, so it's not a major problem for you guys if it doesn't go well.
I don't see how it could be a problem. Like, because unless he gets injured the first game he plays, I'm all good with it.
Yeah, I think he'll just do a solid job, just as a fucking, just for the time being, and then he'll go back to Spurs. That's how I see it.
We will miss that overlapping from Shaw though, because Shaw is a big part of our attack.
Are you worried about the fact that he may end up having to play a lot of games for you guys, depending on what happens with your current left back options? Would you be happy with Sergio Reguilon as a starter week in, week out Premier League games?
If you're asking me if I'm happy for him to play Bayern Munich, absolutely not. I'm even happy with Shaw to play Bayern Munich. Like, Shaw's not the best defensively; it's his offensive attributes that I think does us well. Like, Wan-Bissaka's our only real defensive left back at the club. Malacia, fair, he can defend. He can't defend it all. I don't know. I tried to justify something there that didn't exist. But Wan-Bissaka is our only defensive-minded fullback, I'd say. Luke Shaw is more overlapping. He is a big part of our attack on that left-hand side, and that's the thing we're going to miss out on the most here. It's not going to be his defensive capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Gordon?
Now,
it's like I said, I do think Shaw does play a big role in this team. Don't get me wrong, but I think especially during the first three, he has been exposed. Well, to be fair, I think the whole team has been exposed in the first three games, and how, especially the midfield, especially with Casemiro. That I think with Amrabat, I know I'm linking them, moved away from the question, but I'm just saying, I think if Reguilon can just get the basics of defending right, he'll do a job for us. That's what I think he'll do. And then if it doesn't really work out where he doesn't fit the 10-act system, we can stick Alvaro Fernandez there just in case. So
He's way on loan.
Where's he gone? Oh,
Somewhere in Spain.
Jesus, man, that man is never fucking saying this club, is he? Yeah. Anyway, so I guess it's fucking do or die. I guess for Reguilon here if he wants to make it. I guess.
So obviously, it doesn't look like you guys are going to be doing much more business in the next half an hour.
Yeah.
So I'll start off with Matt. So overall, how would you rate your transfer window?
On paper, it doesn't look that bad, does it? But when you integrate them into the team, it's like, what is happening? Well, that's only really with Mount. To be fair, Hoyland's a risk. Mount was obviously a risk. The backup keeper, I'm not even going to comment on that. That's irrelevant signing. Onana's really our only standout signing, and Amrabat maybe. But I haven't watched enough of Amrabat.
I think, like you say, they are. Yeah. What worries me is your two biggest signings. Like you say, you describe them yourself as risks.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's okay to take risks in the transfer market, and sometimes it's great and it pays off.
Yeah.
But I think, you don't want your two biggest signings of the window to both be a player that could be considered as a risk.
No, I agree.
I think if you're going to spend the money you've spent on Hoyland and the money you've spent on Mount, they shouldn't be risky signings.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like you say, I think Onana is a good signing. It's a smart signing. I think De Gea, as great as he has been for you guys down the years, not been so great over the last couple. I think it was important for you guys to get a new goalkeeper just for the sort of morale aspect as well as much as anything else.
Anymore with that statement.
And I think, I think it shows. I think it shows that the club's trying to move on and start a bit more fresh. It's giving Ten Hag a chance to bring in a goalie that he wants, and a goalie who's probably a bit more suited to the style of football he wants to play.
Yeah, because De Gea was never that keeper. If we had Onana last season, we win the Europa League. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and like I say, though, I think the thing that worries me the most about your transfer window is, like I say, your two biggest signings are a bit risky. And like I say, it's fine to make risky signings, but not your biggest signing, and especially not your two biggest signings.
Yeah, Hoyland and Mount.
I think Hoyland could do really well for you. I'm not going to sit here and say it's super risky and I think he's going to flop. He seems like a good player. Whether or not I'd have paid the fee that you paid for him, probably not. But then, as a Chelsea fan, I can't say much because we've paid some pretty ridiculous fees ourselves over the last 2 years.
Yeah. Well,
and obviously,
we pay premium fees.
The transfer market. Yeah, but that's not just you anymore, is it? It's the whole sort of transfer market is an absolute mess at the moment. It's all the fees at the moment are sort of mess. We've seen now multiple £100 million transfers. It was only a couple of years ago, there was only one or two players in the world who would go for them sort of fees.
Yeah. Ronaldo,
and now we're seeing those sort of fees, more and more regularly in the Premier League. Declan Rice has just gone for £105 million.
We've just seen
Enzo Fernandez,
150 million
Moises Caicedo
projected for 31-year-old.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. £150 million for a 31-year-old Salah. That's not obviously. It's not like he's past it, but you've got to look at it financially. £150 million for a 31-year-old who you might get another 5 years out of, maybe, but still, it's a lot of money.
I think
you have to bear in mind that those sort of fees, that sort of fee is gonna go down year on year as he gets older.
Yeah.
I also saw something earlier. They got offered like 150 million plus 50 million add-ons. FSG
But
only
then
spent 300 million on the club.
the rumors that are going around were that Saudi were going to come back with an even bigger bid.
And you know their window doesn't close till the 15th of September.
Yeah, there you
But
go.
ours does.
Yeah,
That's another 2 weeks. Jesus Christ.
they could just be harassing Liverpool for 2 weeks, making that bid higher until where they can't decline
But
it.
I think one of the biggest problems with this bid is that it's come on deadline day.
Yeah. That's what I was
Now,
saying.
if you put this bid in a week or two ago, then Liverpool will probably have to seriously consider it.
Yeah,
You know, because it's different. If you know you have time to replace a player, that makes a big difference.
yeah,
I think coming in on transfer deadline day with a few hours to go and telling a club, you know, we want your best player, we want your player who scored a quarter of the goals that your club scored last season. You know, I think Liverpool scored 75 goals last season, and Mo Salah scored 19 of them. That's a quarter of your club's goals are coming from one player.
yeah,
And that's not even talking about the assists on top of that. You know, so you've only got to watch Liverpool to see that Salah is a huge part of their team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you take him out, fine, but he has to be replaced with someone of similar quality. And you know, coming in with a bid a few hours before the deadline, it gives them almost no chance to replace him with someone of similar quality.
yeah,
I think that's probably quite a big factor in why Liverpool turned it down. You know,
yeah,
it's not like the money's not reasonable for him. It's a lot of money. But like I say, I think, you know, if you come in to a club and you stitch them up by trying to take their best player away hours before the deadline, what can you expect, you know?
Amrabat's been announced for United.
I was just going to say, like, if they did, let's say they sold someone, right, and they wanted to go for a replacement, every club will know Liverpool have money, so they will bump up that price tag as much
Well,
as they.
especially because they'll know as well, or you've only got a few hours to get it done. We
Yeah,
can
exactly.
ask for whatever we want, and you've got no choice. So
Exactly.
it's a really tough situation for Liverpool to be in. So I can understand why they've turned it down. But then
Yeah.
again, it's 150 million pounds
I was
for a
thinking they're not
31-year-old.
they're not going to win
It's
the
not
league
even
this season. They should
it's
take
not
the
even
money.
150 million euros. You know, it's 150
Yeah.
million pounds. We've been told this bid is. So you're
Yeah.
talking 175 million euros. Now, I don't care who you are, what club you are. That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
It's
it would have been good if they had came in earlier, but I would still accept it because they're not challenging for anything this year. The only thing they could really challenge for is the Europa League, in my opinion. Like,
But
their midfield is
it's
going to
not
take
even
time to
just
improve.
it's not even just not challenging. You know, I think if you take Salah out of that team without replacing him, it could be a really rough season for them. You know, we saw it. We saw it in patches last season when
Yeah,
things were bad for them. You know, and you know a lot of the time, Mo Salah was dragging them through games.
yeah,
it was.
And I think, you know, without him in that team and without any replacement, that could get quite ugly quite quickly, I think, at Liverpool.
yeah.
I'll be
And I think the
honest.
club are probably aware of that.
I'll be absolutely honest with you. Do they need an instant replacement? I don't think so, because when you look at the players they have, especially the front three, they could definitely do right now. In Darwin Núñez, Jota, not even Jota, or like Luis Diaz and Gakpo, let's say, right? Let's say those three. That's still a very good attack that can get you goals. Darwin Núñez,
I
2 goals for Liverpool, the 10 men, and like I said, against Newcastle, for God's sake. So I think,
I agree with you. in the sense of if you look at that front three as a standalone thing, then it's not a bad front three. You know, they're all good players, but in my opinion, I don't see any of them three who are able to just, you know, take a game by the scruff of the neck and go bang, turn everything around in the same way that Salah can. I know Nunez did it the other night.
Yeah.
I know. I'm not stupid. I'm aware of the irony of what I'm saying right now. But do you see that? Can you see him doing that all the time in the way that Salah does? For me, no.
I can actually, because I can see it. I don't know. I'm a United fan, whatever the fuck. But like Darwin Núñez, and it's something about him now. He, like, everyone making fun of him in the first season, but he actually has that talent to score at least.
He's good and he's a finisher, and obviously that's what you want.
I think he does everything Liverpool need as a striker.
If you take Salah out of that dressing room
he's a
as
good
well,
finisher.
who does Núñez
This is the
have?
thing, I think Salah's such a huge loss for them. I really do, and I think
he will be
they obviously know that.
Like that, like,
and I think, in my opinion, there's probably the only player that I could see that could slot in and replace Salah straight away is probably someone like Rafael Leao.
Yeah,
I think he has the
Either
talent.
Leao or Kavicha of Napoli.
Kavicha as well, Kvaratskhelia. Again, but neither of them deals are getting done on deadline day.
Oh, no chance. I was just going to say that. Like, I feel like Liverpool should just do what they did, before Salah, essentially. Is just keep building stars, which they have done in the past and they will continue to do in the future. With 150 million, just like they did with Coutinho, they just said goodbye because they knew with that money they could reinvest into the squad. They could make the team a lot better, and especially with that money, they bought one of the best centre backs in the world at the time and also the best keeper at the time. So with that money, they can also...
I 100% agree with that. I do, because I think selling Salah and then spreading that money around the team is really probably what they need right now, because we all know that FSG aren't the type of owners to just splash cash left, right and centre.
Definitely not.
I
mean, they get a lot of fucking shit, but then again, they just splashed 45 million on, Ryan Gravenberch right there.
They could say the same about the Glazers. They could say the same about the Glazers.
But you have to bear in mind that, they've also, the only DM they ended up picking up this window was Endo. Right now, he could be brilliant for them. I can't sit here and say he's rubbish, and he could be great for them, right?
He's a Klopp signing,
no, that's fair enough. But he's also, there was obviously higher priorities than Endo. And I think
like Bellingham,
once again, I think Klopp has been let down a little bit by FSG in that sense. Okay, they've got him a player that he's probably happy with, and you're saying it's a Klopp signing. Fair enough. But you're not telling me that at the start of the summer, Endo was number one on Klopp's priority list.
I highly doubt it. Start of the summer end of Klopp.
The timing of Endo is wrong. That is so wrong. I felt if we had got our midfield targets and he was the last one, our fans will be happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the timing of it, we went from Lavia, Caicedo to Endo. It just brought an outrage.
But then my question is, there's still other players out there, right? There's still other decent players out there on the market. Okay, why then cheap out on Endo to then go and splash money on Gravenberch anyway?
It's a theory, but it's a scary theory. It goes back to the Salah thing. If they accept 200
which is why you feel like they're preparing to lose Salah.
So the preparing is to put Gravenberch as the number 8 and move Szoboszlai as the right winger.
I mean, the thing is, though, your club has, you've got a lot of attacking talent at the club. You've got Jota, you've got Gakpo, you've got Luis Diaz, you've now got Nunez. you've got a fair amount of attacking talent at the club.
We
And
have, but
I think Liverpool will. I think you'll regret not getting a bit more of an experienced DM, someone from a top 5 league, spend a
Even
bit
in
more
Diddy.
money.
That's
You know,
the
yeah,
issue,
well,
never
that's
sold
what I mean. You know,
Fabinho.
someone with experience in a top 5 league. You know,
I wanted us to get Fabinho. I was like, I did not want him sold. Even if for 40 M's, I don't care. I'd rather
yeah,
take that
and I
risk.
think the first thing they should have done when Fabinho went was wrap up a deal for someone else. You know, that should have been priority number one.
That should
And
have
I
been
think,
done beforehand.
you know,
Before
you
they
were
accepted that
the
deal.
club was messing around with Lavia, putting out bids of 40 million, 45 million. And, you know, they were told the whole time that the price was 50 mil.
Mhm.
And they were busy. Oh, maybe we can save £5 million,
We stabbed this
right?
back.
But
So
it's
stupid.
this is what I mean. You know, for the sake of £5 million, you've now lost out on one of your main targets of the summer.
Not even that. We had the money for him. We got rid of Fabinho Henderson. That's like 60
Yeah.
M's right there.
You
That
had
covers
the money.
Lavia.
I mean, you clearly had the money because you've since signed Gravenberch. You know,
We
and the
literally
fact
showed the
that
whole world how much money we have. And we have made
you offered how much money, you know, for Casado.
It's just
So there was clearly money there to be spent, and I think they've prioritised the wrong areas. To be honest with you,
I fully
I
agree
think
with that.
in terms
if
of
you,
8, we're sorted. But Diaz DM, we only got one DM. There's reports
Mhm.
about Klopp's gonna try convert Gravenberch to a 6 because of of his physical attributes, which I don't see it at all.
That's not going to happen.
It could
That's-
work in the future, but I need
No,
a DM
that's what
right
they
now.
tried to do at Bayern, but he's just not. He's just he's an ace. He's a number 8 as a literally.
No, but here's the thing, RJ.
On the ball, he's very good on the ball, and he runs up and down that pitch. Like I said, he's an 8. He's not going to be a 6 at the Premier League.
No, here's the thing. He's not, but I can trust Klopp to try and convert him. However, that's gonna only happen in a few years' time. It's not gonna happen now. If he wanted to do it now, Catherine Turan was out there. Catherine Turan 40 EM, you could have got him.
That's Rob
Because
holding the
he's
way
the
to
one
Crystal
that can
Palace.
play 6. And now he's staying in Liga. He's probably priced are gonna be increased to 80 mil, and we just wasted time on
So,
that.
I'm going to ask you the same question I've asked Matt. How would you rate your transfer window overall, assuming that nothing drastically changes in the next 15 minutes?
Ah. 5 and 6 is between those two numbers.
If I was a Liverpool fan, I'd be panicking personally because, like,
Yeah.
we've had the worst season in years, and we've only signed 3 midfielders. Like, that's
4.
4.
But here's the
Still,
thing. The reason I'll give it
you're
the
still
5
4 as well.
5/6.
But they have
signed
signed some quality players though. You can't argue that they've signed some good
Worse in
quality players.
midfield. Worse in midfield depth.
But yeah, I think this is my problem is that it's like I say, I think you're still lacking a good high quality experienced DM.
It's only
That's
DM
probably
and
a
centre
negative.
back we lack. In terms of 8s, we're fine. Like I'm happy with our depth. I'm happy with Jones. I'm happy with Elliot as our 2 backup 8s. I'm happy with those 2. Happy with Dom, Alexis. Happy with Gravenberch. That's our depth right there. Our DM depth is Endo. He's only got his first big move to a big club this year at 30 years old. He played in a low block team in the German league. And our backup is a youngster, Stefan Bajcetic, who we ran to the ground. That's why he got injured.
And I think that's a good point as well. He played for a low block team, and there's a good chance that at Liverpool he's gonna be exposed quite often.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, so far, so he's been okay so far. Like I can't like really judge it because he's been playing.
I've already said, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he's not good enough. You know, he could do really well under Klopp. You know, and none of
But
us
what I like
know
about him
yet.
so far, he's always forward thinking. He's progressive with the ball. He gets the ball. First thing, I'm going to pass it forward. That's what I like about him.
Hmm.
He's a good tackler. It's just like, I need to know where Klopp's system is going with, because I have a suspicious feeling that Trent is not going to be invited. He's going to go back to as a full-time right back, Trent.
There's no way you're playing him as a midfielder.
Well, the
Yeah.
thing is as well, like it's who do you put in that right back position if not
Joe Gomez.
realistically? And is Joe Gomez a good enough fullback for a Klopp system?
Mm-mm.
No, Gomez at right back is actually good
You
compared
can't
to.
replace
Look,
Trent at right back.
I'm not arguing that he's a good right back. I think he could probably slot in there and do a good enough job. But in a Klopp system, he's not the right sort of player for a fullback position.
It's like a Reguilon in our team. It's just there to do a job. Nothing more, nothing less short term.
No, but to be fair, Gomez actually going forward is actually decent. I remember last season when he played like right back, he could have got against Man City, the Carabao Cup. He could have got 2 assists. Nunes actually finished his chances. There's one on one. Is Gomez's ball?
But he's far away from the quality of someone like Trent.
Yeah, of course, far away from it. I think he's a better defender than Trent, which is something we
So
need.
do I, 100%. But obviously, Klopp likes his fullbacks to get involved in the attack, and I think you lose out on I think you have a massive drop in quality if you go from having Trent in that right back role to Joe Gomez.
From an attacking point of view, yes. I think defensively will
Yeah.
be much better. But here's the thing. You could sometimes be willing to sacrifice Trent because you've got Szoboszlai, McAllister, who are creative. And Salah is also creative as well. Like, you still got him, and obviously Robertson as well. You still got that creative outlets in the side.
Mm-hmm.
With Trent, it's like Trent needs to step up because so far if I look at the whole team, he's actually been our worst player.
The thing is he should have improved defensively by now.
I don't even blame him anymore.
Well, the thing is, no, this is the thing. It's clearly been a weakness in his game for a long time now. And realistically, the club should have been working on this non-stop because he's a brilliant player and his technical quality is unreal. But how many times have we seen him out of position defensively or getting burnt or just not paying enough attention? Lack of concentration with Trent seems a problem a lot of the time. He's missing runners or he's not tracking his man or his head's just in the clouds. And when Virgil was playing well and your whole team was playing well, I think you didn't need him to do a lot defensively. You had a lot of players at the time who could mop up after him, who could slot into that right back position and protect him when he was bombing up the pitch.
You just signed somebody.
Who?
Diego Moreira? Yes, on loan.
Have we sent him on loan?
It says he's just on loan from Chelsea. Sorry.
Yeah. Where have we sent? Where have we sent him?
Olympiac. Leon.
Leon.
Yeah.
You can name 2 teams there: Olympia and then.
Oh, man's going to a toxic place, man. Leon is
Yeah,
a
Do you know what?
place.
He looks really good, Diego Moreira. He's not. He looks raw, He looks like he's got a lot of quality, but from what I've seen of him in pre-season and so far, he's just not quite ready yet for Chelsea. But again, he could be brilliant within a couple of years. He looks like he's got a lot of quality.
I would have Chelsea fans say that about our youngsters being sent on loan.
Well, they have they bought a whole academy in the summer.
I think our cup game the other day sort of I think that sort of opened Pochettino's eyes a little bit as to who was and wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Because we started a lot of youngsters in the first half, and we were very poor. In all honesty, it was not good
Hudson
enough.
Daka stays at Leicester, doesn't get the move to Bournemouth.
Hudson
Che
Daka's moves
Adams.
fallen through.
Che Adams deal fell through earlier as well.
Where was he?
And a big
There's
one.
been a lot this year. In all honesty, there's been
Yeah,
quite a
Fabrizio's
few
got a
deals
few
this
things
year that
wrong.
have fallen through.
Fabrizio used to be
Paulinho
like
follow.
better.
I don't even think it's necessarily Fabrizio getting things wrong. It just seems to me like there's been a lot of deals falling through this year for some reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the timing of it, and if someone hasn't, I forgot what's his thing's called. He had in an extension or something like that. I forgot the name of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
There's one where you try to complete the signing, but you need more time. So you
Mason
advance,
Greenwood
you
to
had limits.
Getafe is done.
What?
Mason Greenwood to Getafe is done.
According to who?
Fabrizio?
No, you're taking the piss.
I'm not.
Yeah, it honestly tweeted earlier.
You just tweeted it there now.
Yeah,
Oh.
Mason Greenwood to Getafe deal now sealed and signed. Manchester United and player give the final green light.
Wow.
You seem shocked.
Good. Well, yeah. I didn't think there'd be any fucking morals over in fucking Getafe.
I mean, it's a decent signing for that. Like, Spain won't. No, but let's be honest. Someone's going to get him.
Obviously, yeah. But
It's
I mean,
a good talent for Getafe.
We'll see
No,
what
it
happens.
is.
But like, I think if he isn't just booed off the fucking pitch every game, I wouldn't be surprised.
A loan doesn't make sense to me, though, because he won't be able to play for about 2 months to get much.
Everyone's asking Rudiger to do a favour just to
Oh.
take him out.
He can't. No, but there's no point in loaning him because he can't get match fit until about November, I'd say.
Probably, yeah. No.
So Conor
All I'm
Gallagher,
saying
Ian
is-
Matson, Cucurella, and Chalobah all staying at Chelsea. Confirmed by Fabrizio Romano himself.
That's bad.
It's a very weird strategy from Chelsea.
Did you see Getafe's post about it?
No, I haven't. They're
Keep
trying to-
calm announcement coming with
Oh,
an English flag.
Getafe.
That's gonna
Getafe's
get-
gonna be so hated.
I'm very interested to see the comments on this post when they announce it.
From a promotional side, it's going to do them wonders. But I mean, not for the good reasons that they think.
Yes,
Like,
I 100% agree.
They're going to be outlawed by the Spanish Federation.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't say it's going to do them wonders.
No, what I mean
It's,
is
definitely going to get them some attention.
they're going to get a lot of free publicity, but this is not going to be good publicity. If you know what I mean, that's what I mean. Like,
974 quote tweets in 10 minutes.
oh my god,
1,000 now.
oh, it's just going up. It's just like Dylan Dennis on Twitter, just blowing up.
Fuck me.
Yeah,
Her.
1,500 quote tweets already.
Oh my god.
Nottingham Forest have just signed another player.
Yeah, Nico Dominguez.
Oh wait, did
I
they
signed about 5 players today.
yeah, did they sign Andrew? Oh, I can't say his last name properly. The Irish, I think they have.
Yes, the centre back.
Yeah, he's decent, lads, and he will be good for Forest if they actually play.
Is he signed of the season or
Brennan
bigging up
Johnson
his
signing
Irish
as well.
players.
is he signed of the season?
No. Unfortunately, I can't say that anymore.
Oh yeah, I don't know what Spurs are doing. You're looking at that Forest team, and the first play is okay. I'm going to go for Brennan Johnson. If I'm
Well,
Spurs,
the
I'm
thing
going
is,
for
that it wasn't just Spurs though, was it? Chelsea was sniffing around him as well.
No, but let's be real, dude.
Spurs,
They wanted Ferguson. Ferguson was literally too much for them, so that's why they went to Brendan Johnson. So it was that.
oh, that Ferguson one, it vexed me because apparently he even came out and said this, like he was so close to joining us in the academy, but we turned him down.
Yeah,
Now
because
he's
well, that's why.
I mean, it says the one who missed out on 10 targets. Nunez, Gakpo, Gravenberg. I can go on the list.
Are you talking about us?
He is.
Yeah.
We weren't in for any of those players you just mentioned.
No, but you had to
Gakpo
admit
wanted
Nunez and
us.
Gakpo. Yeah,
Gakpo
Gakpo
wanted
rejected
us.
you. Hold that.
No, we didn't. We
Yeah,
didn't
but
go for him. He didn't
basically,
reject it.
our latest signing, Amrabat, literally rejected you the first chance he got. You were interested, and he said, "No, I'm playing for United." Simple as that. And now he is.
Fuck, he rejected us. I never wanted him.
Did you not want Caicedo either?
Yeah, or do you want Enzo Fernandez, Lavia? The list goes on, really. Pretty much half the
No, but
Chelsea
Enzo
team
won-
is literally
and
started by Liverpool.
Right,
No,
let me just ask Velv a question for a minute. And Velv, I don't want. I'm not taking the piss out. This is a genuine question for you. Why do you think so many players have avoided Liverpool this window?
Sorry.
if we're just basing this on Chelsea, I'm
No,
gonna
I'm
start
not.
with
No, I'm
the-
not. You have had. You know, I'm not just here to. I'm not just trying to take the piss. You know, but you have had
Oh
multiple
no, of
players
course. I'll just explain
that
the
have turned you
situation.
down this summer window, and I think I just want a Liverpool perspective on why you think that is.
I think from our perspective, we can't guarantee them what they want. So, for instance, with the Lavia situation,
Like in the
he
chat.
he first wanted us. He wanted us. Like even reports said he wanted us, but we decided to stab him in his back to go for Caicedo. And when
Mhm.
Caicedo rejected us, like I could openly say, Caicedo rejected us for Chelsea.
Mhm.
Maybe it was for not footballing reasons, maybe it's for money, but he still rejected us. Then we
Multiple
decided to go back.
reasons, I think, in all honesty.
Yeah. But here's the thing: players always chat shit in interviews. Like,
Yeah,
don't believe
I
whatever.
think there was a lot of different aspects as to why Casado wanted to join us. Obviously, money is part of it. I'm not going to sit here and say that it isn't. Yeah, money is a big part of every deal that happens in football. I think, you know, he'd also essentially, I think he'd pretty much, you know, he'd been in agreement with Chelsea for a long time that he was going to
Yeah,
them.
you already done the groundwork, so there's no
You know,
point.
we've done a lot of groundwork, and I think also, you know, I think people maybe underestimate the aspect of just living in London. You know, it's a very desirable place to live. If you're going to come to the UK and you're going to come to the Premier League, I think a lot of players want to live in London nowadays. You know, it's a hot spot. You've got a lot of teams here. There's a lot of other footballers for them to hang out with, and you know, you've got everything you could want in a city, essentially.
Yeah.
And I think
No, but
that's becoming a bigger aspect in transfers as well lately. You know, we've seen players turn down Saudi because they don't want to live in Saudi Arabia. You know, even though there's been crazy money involved, some players have just
yeah,
basically said, "No, it's not somewhere that I want to go and live." You know, I think sometimes people forget the human aspect
oh yeah,
when
there's
these
actually
transfers are happening.
there was a transfer yesterday. I don't know. I think it's from Leverkusen or something. A player was meant to join Leeds. He landed in Leeds, looked in the seat and training guy said, "No, I'm gonna go back." Like he just landed and said, "No, I'm going back."
But
But
yeah, obviously the point I'm making, I think there's multiple reasons why Casado rejected you, and it's not necessarily just to do with Liverpool, and it's not it wasn't necessarily just a big fuck you to Liverpool. I think there was probably
the guy,
multiple reasons.
the Lavia one was the big FU,
And like
and
I
I
say,
don't
I
blame
think,
him.
yeah, like you said, and I said this at the time, you know, Liverpool stitched themselves up massively with the Lavia deal. Because like you say, you know, he was more than happy to go to you. And as I said earlier, you know, you messed around bidding 40 million, 45 million. You were told all along that they wanted 50 and they would do the deal for 50 million. And you tried to save 5 million and then went for a different player. And then when that fell through, you went back to him and tried to sign him. Now, as a player, why would you be interested in a club that are sort of using you as a last resort?
Exactly. And here's
You know,
another player as
it's
well.
not a good look for the club, is it, to go back and go, oh well, we couldn't get the more expensive player that we wanted, so we will buy you now after all. I don't think, you know, you can't then blame the player for then saying, no, do you know what? if I'm not your first choice, then I don't want to be there.
It's like a girl who has a crush on you, and you saw her either pretty one day, you tried to go for her, then you didn't turn up, then you tried to go for the one that she liked, and she
Mhm.
said no because you just left. But another example,
And I
Timo
think
Werner. Timo Werner wanted to join Liverpool. He even said that Liverpool was my preferred choice, but if you never put in the money,
Mhm.
Chelsea went for it. If you don't put the money where it's due, then you can't get the player.
Man
But
United.
and
Enzo Fernandez,
in all honesty, I think Werner probably would have done well for you guys as well. To be honest,
no, but
I
here's the
think he
plus. Do
probably
you know
would have.
what's the worst one? Enzo Fernandez last summer, we got offered
Mhm.
offered by the club for, I think it's 19 million we could have signed it for, but we said no.
Mhm.
And look now, he's at Chelsea doing his thing. Obviously not to the level we expect, but obviously
Well,
if
it
Chelsea's in
happens.
a
It
difficult.
happens a lot. You know, you're not the only club. But I believe Man United were offered Casado a couple of years ago for
6 million.
5 million or something,
Six,
6
yeah.
million. Yeah, so it's not like you're not the only club who makes mistakes in that sense.
We're offered Haaland for 5 million as well.
Yeah.
But like I say, I think I think the club have sort of stitched up Klopp a bit with the Lavia deal. To be honest with you, I think they should have just.
You could tell it hurt Klopp a lot because Klopp literally wanted, like, he was loving Lavia.
Well, this is the thing, and he was happy with the £50 million midfielder, and then the club turned around and went, "Oh no, actually, we're going to go in for this guy," and they must have known at the time that the Casado deal was going to be a difficult deal to get over the line with Chelsea being involved and so far into their negotiations already. And instead of just being happy with what they were working on, they stitched themselves up.
Here's the thing, you've
And
done
I
it with the
think,
wrong club. Because here's the thing, the Luis Diaz one, Spurs did all the groundwork for Luis Diaz. We just came in, he's like, ah, cool, I'll go to Liverpool. He'll work against the Spurs. But if you do it against a club like Chelsea,
mhm,
less people have the money and also have this success in the past 20 years. Like, people forget
mhm.
that.
And
Like,
I
here's the
think
thing, they have
your club just, I don't know why they thought they would try and go toe to toe with us in the transfer market when we've shown time and time again that we're willing to spend money. And I think Liverpool's transfer window improves massively if you stayed away from the Casado deal and you just wrapped up Lavia. I think Klopp's would have been a lot happier, and I think the fans probably would have been a lot happier.
instead, if we got Lavia, and then Endo would have been hated as much as he is getting now. I actually feel bad
Well,
for
you
him.
may not have. You probably wouldn't have even gone for Endo if you signed Lavia. In all
No, I
honesty,
think Klopp specifically wanted that, like, as to be the experience, the versatility player. The Endo
well,
was
look, it doesn't
grand.
help that you've moved on Henderson and Fabinho at the same time, and you've lost a lot of experience in that midfield.
Even we still have experience in Thiago, but he's injured. I'm not sure if you heard a report. He just came back in training and got injured again. And I was like, out of Henderson, Fabinho, and Thiago, the first person I wanted gone was Thiago. Because at least the other two,
Yeah,
they give you availability.
I think with Thiago, it's never really clicked for him at Liverpool in the way that I think the club hoped it would.
If
He's
we had done
clearly
the quadruple in that season,
he's
it would
clearly
be
a quality
bang.
player. There's no denying that he's clearly a quality player. I just think that just for whatever reason, he hasn't sort of lived up to his potential at Liverpool.
Didn't cost much, but it's just like that quad season, man. Just one more game, Klopp. You had to play that midfield, the Naby Keita, Thiago, Fabinho midfield, just one game. But instead, you play Henderson, man. As soon as I saw Henderson against Spurs,
I think clearing out Henderson is a good shout overall. I think it was time, he needed to move on, in my opinion.
but his ego's getting out of control, man. I think he's going to end the toxic, so it's best for both parties to leave. Yeah. I love Hendo,
like I say, I think he's been a great servant for Liverpool, but he's not the quality of player that a team like Liverpool should have in midfield as a starter.
Yeah.
You know, if you'd kept him as a backup, then fine. But like I say, you know, he's not, in my opinion, I don't think he's good enough quality to be starting in the midfield for a team like Liverpool.
Here's a bit. I said something that triggered the Liverpool fan base. I said like in 3 years' time, people remember Naby Keita more than Thiago at Liverpool. It's a fact. Naby Keita's done more than Thiago at Liverpool.
He's
Yeah,
probably
I
still
mean,
there. I forgot
I'm not
Thiago
gonna-
was still there.
I'm not going to argue with you, to be honest. Yeah, I mean,
It's just
like
like
I
these
say, I
eye
think
test
he
people.
just hasn't lived up to the potential that he had.
I literally told her I ain't trying to see no flipping guard of honor when he leaves, but like with a flipping FA Cup. I'm not counting Carabao Cup because he only played one game. Like he never even played in the final.
Did you see the statement that Man United put out?
Yeah.
Did you see Fabrizio said back to Man United in 2024?
Fuck's sake, man. Like the sad thing is that if this was like a player like Palestri or like an Amad Diallo or something like that, they would have just shipped him off the first chance they would have gotten with these
You
allegations.
reminded me. How come Pelestri's not given the opportunity? I think he's a baller.
I have no idea. Literally, I saw this man.
He is
in
getting given the opportunity. We didn't send him out on loan. He is getting given the opportunity. He's been coming on every game.
Thing is, he's one of our best wingers at the club. Simple as that. He's
I
so
saw
good
him
on.
at the World Cup. In the World Cup, he was very impressive. I liked him.
Oh, of course, yeah. Sure. The thing is, before he started for us, he was starting for Uruguay, which is nuts. Like, how many players do you know that play for a national team, but they don't even start for your? Well, actually, I can name a few now off the top of my head now, just because of that. But
It's probably like League One players and that.
well, no, like not even that, but like he didn't even get a chance to do it under Ole, which I was like, okay, that's a bit weird. You know, you have this really talented young lad who definitely can, you know, create a lot of chances for you. And why don't you play him? It never really checked out for me. But like I said, he did play in Dublin against what was it? Athletic Club, yeah. And he's just electric. On the ball, he's so quick. He's so good at getting in those positions just to get goals. You know, so
Well,
hopefully
we've all been asked about our transfer window, but Ross, how do you feel about Chelsea's transfer window?
You haven't asked me yet, which is sad. Well, anyway,
I was getting there, but
since you're the host, go on ahead. So
Ross, can you name your every
it's-
signing, please?
no, of course not. Are you joking?
I'm pretty sure-
He's-
I don't know. Do you know what? I think for me, for probably a lot of Chelsea fans, I think that one of the most important aspects of this window has been outgoings as much as incomings.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
I think the clear out that we've had has been incredible, and I think it was
you won the window just based on
100%
the
needed.
outgoings.
Well, it's not like we haven't signed good players. You know, I'm really happy with Lavia. I'm happy with Casado.
Jackson, even's a talent.
Nicholas Jackson, honestly, once he gets firing, I think he's going to be a real problem because he's got everything else.
I think he's had another one as well.
From what I've watched of Nicholas Jackson, he's been brilliant. You know, his link up play is really good. He's strong on the ball. You know, I think he's got everything he needs to be a good striker.
He's been very good at right back.
Yeah, and Gusto. I think a lot of Chelsea fans knew already. You know, Gusto looked brilliant, but obviously with Azpilicueta being here at the time and Reece James, obviously he went back on loan to his old club. But I think now he's got a really good opportunity with Reece being injured to come in and really make a mark. You know, like you say, he looks like a really good player. I'm excited. You know, we've got some really good players. Casado's good, Lavia's good, Marlo Gusto looks really good. And then even some of the younger players, even the ones that are going out on loan, Andre Santos looks really talented.
Are you a bit disappointed with some of the players that you've let go, especially like someone like Lewis Hall and all those other?
But this is what I was going to say. While I'm very happy about the clear out we've had, we have lost some players that I would rather have kept.
Mhm.
Lewis Hall being probably number one. I was disappointed to see players like Pulisic go. I think he's got a lot of talent, but again, inconsistent, and I can understand why we've moved him on. And I think it's probably for the best to sort of get rid of a lot of these players that are just because you're talented doesn't mean you can get away with underperforming. And I think we've had a lot of players underperforming for the last couple of seasons, and a lot of Chelsea fans were in agreement that one of the main things that we needed to do this window was to just get rid of a lot of dead wood. You saw the reports last season of how many players we had, and to the extent that players were training in separate groups because there was too many players. And you can't. No manager's going to be successful when you've got you're trying to deal with 30 players and keep them all happy. And like I say, I think the most important aspect of our transfer window probably has been this clear out. I will admit that I've been a bit surprised about how much of our midfield we've shipped out and replaced. The fact that we've lost Mount, Havertz, Kante, Kovacic. Loftus-Cheek. Practically our entire midfield has gone and been replaced. Which some of them surprised me a little bit.
AC Milan just play all your players. Like even Loftus-Cheek, Pulisic all started today for AC Milan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we've obviously sort of struck up a half decent relationship with them, and it's worked out for us, But at the same time, while it's kind of sad to see some of these players leaving, I think we've done a pretty good job with the players that we have brought in for midfield. I'm not going to sit here and judge Caicedo based on 2 cameos. We've all seen him play, and we know there's a quality player there. Again, Lavia looks, like a really good signing, and obviously Enzo Fernandez speaks for himself. He's been brilliant for us. So yeah, no, I'm quite happy with the transfer window. I think I would have been happier if we'd spent a bit more on a goalkeeper rather than going for Robert Sanchez. I think
goalkeeper.
One of the things that annoyed me was that early in the transfer window we were discussing, names like Onana and some top level goalkeepers were being discussed. Manyan, yeah, exactly. These were names that we were being linked to at the start of the transfer window. And then all of a sudden, we were told Kepa's staying as our number one. And then we brought in, a cheaper goalkeeper in Robert Sanchez. I think, with the idea of being a number 2, but probably being able to push Kepa for the number 1 position.
Yeah.
Now, that's fine when you hold on to Kepa, but now obviously we've got rid of Kepa. So now our backup goalkeeper, who, like I say, may have pushed his way into the number 1 slot regardless, but now we have no choice. We've got no choice now other than to use him as our number 1 goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And, it's a bit, considering the amount of money we've splashed out on every other area, I think the goalkeeper is an important position. that we probably shouldn't have skimped on.
Yeah.
Personally, so I think, like I say, a lot of people looked at Chelsea last year and said, Kepa needed to be replaced, and we need a decent striker. Now Nicholas Jackson looks really good, like I said, and I'm really happy with him so far. But I think we could have done with another striker to sort of push him a bit more and possibly, take over in certain games. I think the problem I have is that, if Nicholas Jackson gets injured, we could have like a serious striker issue.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like I say, the goalkeeper. So, you looked at last season, well, before the transfer window, and you would have said that, you'd probably Chelsea's two main priorities are to replace, a really, top level striker and a top level goalkeeper. And while Robert Sanchez and Nicholas Jackson look like good signings, you wouldn't sort of put them in at the top level. When you look at the fact that, we've spent 115 million on Caicedo and 105 million on Enzo Fernandez, we splashed hugely in midfield, but then only gone and spent £25 million on a goalkeeper and only £30 million on a striker.
Yep.
So I think because of that, I would say, I'd probably give this transfer window an 8 or a 9. I think to make it a 10, we would have got maybe a bit more of a high-profile striker and goalkeeper. But overall, I'm quite happy with what we've done this summer. Now, RJ, are you still alive?
Just about now, I'll be honest with you. You nearly put me to sleep there with your massive speech there on nothing. Yeah, go on.
So, come on, let's hear what you think about your transfer window.
If I'm perfectly honest, it's underwhelming, right? Because last season we had a few injuries and we didn't really have key players to come back and fill those roles, right? The players we signed, so we signed Onana, we signed Johnny Evans, we signed Reguilon, we've signed Amrabat, Mount, and Højlund, right? Like Matt said, on paper, it doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look too bad, but in the grand scheme of things, not all of them are going to be starting. Now, I've said this for a long time when he signed. Rasmus Højlund was not my first choice. He wasn't even my first. He wasn't my third. Probably was my fifth choice if I was really honest. First choice was Kane, and we should have got him hands down.
Atalanta robbed you.
What?
Atalanta done a very good job getting that much money for.
Obviously, yeah, they did. Don't get me wrong, but I mean,
and Chelsea.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. Listen, you can all joke all you want, right? At the end of the day, we're moving on from that. The problem is, right, we got to a point where we could not spend more money because of financial fair play. I don't know how it works, because how we're doing it and then how City are doing it, it does not make sense. However, with signs we made, like Onana, that's a great signing. We also have that backup front. His name, I don't even know his name, actually, I'll be honest with you. Those other two will be fine, but the problem is, are we going to rely on him when he has to take charge when Onana is gone on AFCON, right? That's the problem that we face now in January, where we lose our main keeper 5 weeks because of that competition, which I think is a problem, because God knows I haven't seen him play, haven't watched him, so we might be in a bit of trouble in January. Then when you get on to our players, I mean, like I said, Reguilon will do a job for us. He'll just do a 6-month job, go back to Spurs, and if he does a good job, then maybe we might extend it to the end of the season and see how it goes there. So, like I said, it's really a 5 for me, not the best. We didn't re-sign anyone that good compared to other teams, if you know what I mean. So I think Onana's the best that we've made, but it's a shame that we did not take any world class players on the outside of the above the keeper. So that's what I would say.
I would disagree with that. But
Go on.
mine doesn't fit the system, but he is that top tier player. I'd say he is at that crop of the top. Would you not agree, Ross? He is top crop player.
Just
What I
just
can
from what we've
say
seen already,
after watching him for a few years is that there's a lot of talent there, and I think if you can use him in the right way, then he could be really good.
Yeah.
I think last season has probably knocked his confidence quite a lot.
Yeah.
I think you got to keep in mind as well that he's been at Chelsea since he was, a very young kid. This is the first time he's moved clubs in his career. All right, he's been on loan, but this is the first big move he's had in his entire career. I think you're going to have to be probably quite patient with him for now until he gets working again. But the talent's there. When he was playing well for us, he was really good.
Yeah.
But again, it's a case of I'm not sure anymore what his best position is now. When he was younger, I used to say he's an 8 and he should be used as an 8, and that's that. But he's been played in various places for us. Hasn't done a bad job in most of them. Obviously, like I said earlier, he was disappointing last season, but then again, everyone in that Chelsea team was disappointing last season.
Yeah.
There is a reason that you've paid £60 million for him. Because he has got a lot of quality. He's got Premier League experience. It's just going to be about whether or not Ten Hag figures out what's the best way for you guys to use him.
Yeah. So that's why I would argue that that's a statement signing from United, in my opinion. Taking a player from a rival is a statement signing.
He hasn't come in and set the world on fire. That's kind of what I'm saying. When I look at players that United needed, we needed players who can make an impact. Right? Onana definitely can make an impact.
Ross, I've got to go. Yeah, take you lot.
Yeah, cheers for coming on, man.
Right.
So,
no worries, man.
Catch you later.
See you.
Especially with Onana this season, he's already made an impact for this club. Right? For me, Højlund, I don't know why we signed him. He was already injured before he came into this club, and we're just doing this for him. I don't know.
You can't say why did we sign this guy that you don't know much about. Because if you said that about anyone, you wouldn't know about Rashford. You wouldn't know about.
No, I'm saying massive, right? We had the chance to sign Kane, right? We had the chance.
We didn't. That deal is extremely difficult.
I have to agree with Matt there. I don't believe that any Premier League club really had the chance to sign Kane.
Okay,
Or
right.
else he would have went to a Premier League club.
I don't think.
I'll
in
give
my
you the
opinion, I don't think Spurs would have sold him to a Premier League club.
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, right? Let's move on to other players. Let's say Victor Osimhen. Why did we not go for someone who's more experienced?
Because he did not want to leave Napoli.
Oh, come on.
The player himself made it quite clear that he didn't want to leave Napoli this season.
Okay, then. Like, the thing is, I don't see why we signed him, genuinely. Like I said, if he proves me wrong, then no bother, fine. I could look back at this moment and say I was wrong.
But you can't see why the reason you can't see why we signed him is because you don't know enough about him yet.
I can see both sides of the argument, in that it's a lot of money to spend on a player who's not really proven himself at the top level yet. And if you are going to go out and spend, what was it, 75 million?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then you should be getting a player who's proved themselves at the top level, in my opinion, for that sort of money. Which is why, like I said, I can understand Mount for £60 million. Okay, it's not looking like a great buy right now, but he's proven himself in the Premier League that he has got a lot of quality. And while Højlund, he has shown that he's got a lot of quality, he's not proven himself, in a top league yet. I think £75 million is a lot of money to spend on a player who hasn't proven himself in the top league. But then again, it's like I say, who do you go for? Because Osimhen didn't want to leave Napoli. I don't think Spurs would have sold Kane to anyone in the Premier League. Realistically, they were offered a lot of money a couple of years back. Was it Man City?
Yes, it was Man City. He
offered them a lot of money, and they refused. And I think that's just because
same time,
they know just can you imagine the backlash if Spurs sold him to a Premier League rival?
I think Spurs at this point, like the fans especially, they've just accepted the fact that Kane is just, he's done so much for this club, and the fact that he can actually do something with his career. I don't think Spurs fans would actually be
the fans, maybe, but the owners, no.
I know, but come on! Like at this point, they kept him hostage for so long. Do you know what I mean?
But why? But why sell him to a Premier League club if there's clubs outside the Premier League that are willing to buy him?
I know, but
it's a win-win for Spurs, isn't it? They get their money, and they're not having to play against him anymore. I always said, Bayern for me was always the most likely destination for him, for a multitude of reasons. The main factor being that they are not in the Premier League, they're not a rival. I explained it like this, right? Kane wants to go to a club where he's guaranteed to win trophies, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, there's a very limited number of clubs where you are guaranteed to win trophies.
I mean, he's already bottled one already.
Now, those clubs are realistically, Man City can guarantee you a trophy pretty much every season.
Madrid.
And then you're looking at Madrid, Bayern, and PSG. Now, out of those four clubs, PSG and Real Madrid are still, messing around over Mbappe.
Mm-hmm.
PSG are hoping to keep Mbappe. Real Madrid are hoping to sign Mbappe. So realistically, neither of them are going to go for Kane. Okay, PSG aren't going to spend 100 million plus on Kane, knowing there's a chance they could keep Mbappe. And Real Madrid aren't going to spend £100 million on Kane, knowing there's a chance they get Mbappe for free next year. Now that leaves you two options, which are Bayern or Manchester City. And like I said, I don't think Spurs were willing to sell him to a Premier League rival. And obviously Bayern never really replaced Lewandowski. So it all sort of fell into place for Kane to go to Bayern. And like I say, Osimhen wasn't interested in moving. So
yeah, I also think if we had signed Kane, we wouldn't have been able to improve the team in other aspects.
That's the thing. It's a lot of money for an older player,
Because we would have been charged more.
He's still a brilliant player, but he's not young.
I think the reason we couldn't do so much is because we couldn't get so many players out the window. Like Harry Maguire, for instance, right? The fact we couldn't get him out the window. I mean, look, listen, the man deserves all the abuse coming to him now. Because
he doesn't.
He does. Sorry, he had all the chance to leave.
He doesn't deserve abuse for wanting to stay and fight for his place.
What do you mean fight for his? There's no place for him. Simple as that.
And there might not be, and that happens a lot. We were meant to be selling Chalobah and other players, and we just agreed a deal for Maatsen for like £30 million with Burnley, and they both turned around and said no, they want to stay at Chelsea and fight for their place. Despite the fact that we've got multiple players in their positions.
You can respect
exactly. You just have to respect it at the end of the day. If they want to stay and fight for their place, even knowing that it's not very likely they'll get their place back, then
Ross,
fair play to them.
We know why he's staying there.
But then again, that's still your club's fault because you know you
No, don't get me
offered
wrong.
out
I'm
you
not
offered
blaming.
out silly contracts, and then you wonder why you can't move on players. You know, you had a goalkeeper who was earning more money than half of the top players in the league.
I'm not disagreeing with that. Obviously, yes, that's what happened. But what I'm saying is that you're talking about a player, right, who, yes, has got extreme amount of abuse over his entire career since joining United, right? He had the chance to move to a club where it suited him tenfold, right? Where he was more beloved, where the fans would love him more, the manager would love him more. The chance of him staying for England, no bother. The only problem,
I agree. We
only
had this
money.
discussion. We had this discussion on a stream the other day, you know, and I said I agree, and I think for his career's sake, he should have gone. And I agree. I think he's a better fit, and there's less pressure, and he's not going to get as much abuse. But you know, you can't force a player to leave if they don't want to leave.
And that's not to say he deserves the
And
abuse
that's
either.
and that's yeah, he doesn't deserve
But
abuse for that. You know, if you want to abuse anyone, abuse the people who gave him such a highly paid contract in the first place.
Like,
mean,
would
we
you
are-
walk away from a job just because the people who bought your product hated you?
Well, no, what I'm saying is though, like for his career and himself,
Well, no, would you though? Would you though?
what?
Would you take a downgrade in payment because the people who bought your product hated you? No,
I
you
know-
wouldn't. No,
I
you
know what
wouldn't.
you do, but like at the same time, what I'm saying is, just from my perspective, right? I wanted him to do well, right? Like as much as I don't like the man, right? I do wish he does well with his career, but he's not going to do well at United. He won't.
You've got no
Like,
reason to dislike the man, though. He's just not very good at. Well, you know, he is good at football. He's just not United standard. There's no reason not to like him.
I
No,
don't
there
even
is-
think it's necessarily that he's not United standard. He just hasn't worked out at the club, you know.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there is no, but he has got good qualities, and we saw it before he came to Man United, and we
Even
still
at
see
United?
it. We still see it quite often when he plays for England.
He's not played well for United.
He did in his first season and second season.
Yeah, no, he wasn't bad, but he wasn't the quality that you'd
Look.
expected when you signed him.
I didn't know why he's
And
honest to God. Like I'll be honest, right?
because
Look-
he was really good for Leicester.
It was no, listen, right? The reason why we signed a centre back at the time was because one of our centre backs got injured. I can't remember which one it was, but one of them got injured, and we were desperate for a centre back.
That wasn't why we genuinely needed a centre back.
No, but it was Eric Bailly got injured pre-season, and we were literally
Okay,
down.
but he was never signed as like a stopgap, was he? You don't spend £80 million on a stopgap.
No, the reason why it was £80 million is because we were desperate for money. That's it.
No.
No, but that's not. He was never a stopgap signing, RJ. If you wanted a stopgap, you would have gone and spent £20 million.
But like, why sign? Oh, just listen.
It
The
wasn't
way-
a stopgap. We wanted him for like 2 years.
The way it
He's,
was done, horrible for everyone. I think. And I
Mourinho
think
wanted him.
but he
him.
was good. He was good at Leicester. You
we
can't,
should.
you know.
He wasn't.
look-
He wasn't good for Leicester. He joined after the season they won the league, and he
Doesn't mean he wasn't good for them.
Doesn't mean he wasn't good for them just because he wasn't there the season before.
But what did he do at Leicester?
Well, enough to make you guys spend £80 million on him.
Well, to be fair, if that's the case, why did we sign half the players we signed? Do you know what I mean? There was no constitute to why we signed him. It was just because we were desperate for a centre back.
Pep wanted him. As
Oh,
well.
come on.
He did. He did.
Pep wanted a lot of players that he hasn't got, and thankfully he hasn't got. But the point
Pep
of me,
Pep could have turned him into a Rolls Royce for all you know.
oh man, come on, no chance. He's good.
No
don't get me
chance.
wrong.
Pep turned fucking Nathan Ake into a left back.
But Nathan Ake isn't a fucking brick. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's simple as that.
What was he before he signed for City? Be honest. He was a Chelsea
He's-
reject.
No, he was
was-
good
he
at
went-
Bournemouth. He was good at Bournemouth.
He went to Bournemouth. Okay, but he wasn't, he was never seen as a top. Nobody expected Man City to sign Nathan Ake when they did.
Well, I mean, they kind of did because that's when Bournemouth went down, and he was their best player by a mile. So he was going to go somewhere.
Chelsea even had a a buyback clause, right? We could have matched Man City's bid for him at the time and picked him up for like 40 million pound. And we needed a centre back at the time when City bought him, and we still didn't go back in for him.
Who was the manager at the time?
Frank Lampard, wasn't it?
Probably around that sort of time, yeah.
It was
Well,
after lockdown, wasn't it?
Yeah,
no.
it was. No, let's say.
But we
yeah.
had a buyback clause where we could match I think it was 40 million that they paid for him, and we had a buyback clause where we could match that, and we chose not to, even though we were in the market for a centre back at the time. And Pep's taken him, done absolute wonders with him, and now he's turned him. Now he's used him as a left back, and still making him look brilliant.
Don't get me wrong, but what I'm just saying is, when you look at
What I'm
Maguire,
saying is that systems make players. Okay,
true.
if you put a player in the wrong system for them, then they're not going to look good.
There's
Okay,
no
if you put
system.
not necessarily even just systems, but general system, environment, manager, everything makes a difference for a player, right? And now, for any multitude of these reasons, Maguire hasn't looked great for United. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's an awful player.
What I'm saying is, for us, he's been an awful player because he just does not suit. Like I say, I agree with you. Systems make player, and that's very true.
You said he wasn't good at Leicester, though.
Come on, what has he done? You tell me what he did at Leicester.
He played centre back.
What do you want me to bring up? Like, he's a centre back. I can't exactly be like, oh, look at the time that he's scored a hat trick, and he's a centre back. But he was a consistently good enough centre back for Leicester.
Listen, no, the reason why we somewhat bought him was because we were desperate. He was on the market.
We weren't desperate. We wanted him for 2 years. We weren't desperate. We wanted him for 2 years.
Right.
He was the top of our centre back targets. We wanted him for 2 years. We weren't desperate. We wanted Harry Maguire.
You're making those lists. The person
just because he's not.
So
what?
Jeremy,
what?
Edward, come on. You're telling me
Ed Woodward, Jose Mourinho, and Ollie both wanted him.
Yeah. Those two.
Yeah, they did. They did. Ollie made him captain.
that was one of the worst mistakes we've ever made. I'd say, other than signing him, putting him as captain was one of the worst decisions we've made.
Who else was there to be captain at the time?
Give me a minute.
Do you not feel like maybe that was an attempt to sort of boost his confidence and try and give him a bit more?
Thing is, right? Like, look,
he's performing well at that time as well, though. That's the thing. I don't know where RJ's getting this stuff. That he's never been a good player for us. He was performing well.
He's not a player. Come on, man.
We would have played better with him in the Europa League final that year than without him. We saw the struggle when he got injured in Ollie's second season. We saw a decline.
It wasn't just that. It's just like the way he is, right? He's a slow player.
You're just thinking of a new reason every 2 seconds. You're changing your reason. There's no reason to hate Maguire.
Listen, right? There's a reason right now where he's the 5th choice centre back. 5th, right? He's probably 6th now, but he's 5th right now, right? And you're telling me that he was a good player? Come on.
Which 5 are ahead of him?
Well, Varane when he comes back.
Varane.
Yeah, Martinez.
Injury table Varane.
Yeah, listen, he'll come back. Don't worry.
He's going to say Johnny Evans.
Johnny Evans is ahead of him. That's
Jesus Christ.
He is.
Right, carry on with your list anyway. Varane,
Lindelof, Martinez,
right,
and Johnny Evans, and then obviously Luke Shaw started ahead of him last season when we had all those injuries.
Luke Shaw's not a centre back.
But Luke Shaw's also injured.
Luke Shaw also played ahead of him last season when we had all those injuries. Is that not something? Come on.
In the back
in your opinion,
back 5. It was a back 4.
In your opinion, you think Luke Shaw and Johnny Evans are ahead of
100%
Maguire for a centre back position at the club?
I think just for morale, Ten Hag has just not told him the truth. Honest to God, if Ten Hag told him the truth, he would have left. Honest to God. I'm serious about that. I don't see why he thinks he has a place in the squad.
I'm hearing all this stuff.
Obviously, he's been told the truth. They've tried to sell him. They literally tried to sell him. He knows that. He knows that. But he wants to stay and attempt to get back into your lineup.
He doesn't. Oh, come on. He wants to keep and stay that money. That's all it is. Simple.
Maybe that is what it is, but then that's still not his fault. That's the club's fault. You can't blame a player because of how much he's getting paid by your club.
I didn't hear
Blame
you
your
slander De
club.
Gea for refusing to sign a contract and taking a pay decrease.
Hmm?
I didn't hear you slander De Gea for refusing to take a pay decrease.
He did take a pay decrease.
What he did was arguably worse.
Yeah.
He kicked off about his £375,000 a week wages being reduced.
De Gea did take a pay cut, and then the club just rescinded that offer.
Good.
On. That's not how you treat club legend. Do you know what I mean? Like that's just how
it is though. It is though. When it's time to move on, it's time to move on.
Well, we should have done that with Harry Maguire for
We
absolutely.
can't. He's under contract. We can't just say, "Oh, bye."
Mutually, that's like what we were doing with fucking anyone.
The difference is that De
for-
Gea's contract was running out, so it was a perfect opportunity to move him on.
Yeah, but like to fucking rescind the offer that you gave him originally.
Because they realised they shouldn't have offered it to him. They didn't want him to be their number one goalkeeper for the next few years.
I don't
And
know.
you don't pay a backup goalkeeper over $100,000 a week.
£375,000 a week for a goalkeeper. I can't even begin to explain to you how mental that is.
I'm
For
just
an
saying,
average goalkeeper at the time as well, when he signed that contract.
He was on over double the second highest paid goalkeeper in the league. The second highest paid goalkeeper in the league was on 150,000.
No,
he was on £375,000. That made him one of the top earners in the Premier League for a goalkeeper.
I will say this, right? Let's say for you, Russ, right? Let's say this. John Terry was going to the end of his career, right? And the way he treated him was, we're going to give you a contract, but we're going to take it away from you and you're going to leave the club. Wouldn't you feel a bit like upset that John Terry got treated like that?
But you know why that didn't happen?
Because Terry went out on his own terms.
John Terry wasn't dog shit for the last few years of his Chelsea career.
Listen. I'm just saying as an example. I'm not saying from his career because listen, he's had a great career. But what I'm saying is,
from it's actually disrespectful to compare John Terry to De Gea as well.
The thing is, right? No, but my point is, he played well up until he left, and then he left when he knew it was time to go.
No, I'm not saying about John Terry's career. I'm just using him as an example as a legend.
No, and I'm saying, but he left when he knew it was time to go.
I know, but I just think that
without kicking up a stink.
The way that De Gea was treated, that's why I think was kind of disrespectful. And I think
when was this offer made to him originally? Like, do we know? Was it before
the
Ten
FA
Hag
Cup
came
final?
in?
Before the FA Cup final.
So was this while Ten Hag was still there?
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. Maybe maybe
Ten
Hag came out and said afterwards, I don't want him as my number one goalkeeper.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
You don't know what happened behind the scenes. The club, I'm assuming the club properly offered him the contract, and Ten Hag said, "I'd much rather have someone else. If you could not renew his contract, that'd be great."
I know, but to do in the fashion that they did, I think was just a bit off.
You can complain about
he could have had the contract and signed. He could have had the contract signed, RJ. But he turned down a contract offer because they wanted to reduce his wages.
But no, he did accept the reduced wages.
Yeah, but too late.
Oh,
too late. When he first got offered that contract, he turned it down because of the reduced wages. And then when he realised, oh, hold on, no one else fucking wants me, he went, I'll take that. And the club went, well, no, actually, we don't even want to pay you that now.
Fair. I understand, but at the same time, I was kind of like disgusted at the point that this lad has been at the club for 12 years or whatever it was.
Well, why are you not disgusted at De Gea at the fact that he wouldn't take a pay cut to stay at his beloved club?
He did
The
take.
club he tried to leave in 2015 as well.
I mean, to be fair, the amount of players who've left us for Real
And you
Madrid,
can turn around and say, oh, he did
I
accept the
don't.
pay cut. Yeah, he accepted the pay cut after he realised that there was nothing else on offer.
I don't know. I think it's just a bad way to go out. Personally,
It is, but he didn't help himself. He was offered a new
I know the
contract
club didn't help
with
themselves
a
either.
somewhat reduced wage. Which, let's be honest with you, right? I can't imagine they cut his even if they cut his wages in half. Yeah, in half, right?
Mhm.
He'd still be earning £175,000 a week. Okay, which is more than any other goalkeeper in the Premier League, and that's assuming that they cut his wages in half, which I doubt they did. I doubt they tried to half his wages completely. But even if they did, right, he still would have been the highest paid goalkeeper in the Premier League. And he turned it down because he didn't want to take a pay cut. Now, why are you not annoyed at him for refusing to take a pay cut when he's underperformed, you know,
I think
for the
I've
last
always said,
couple of
I've
years?
always
You know, he's made a lot of mistakes and he's still, you know, even after making a lot of mistakes and underperforming for the past couple of years, he was still offered a contract renewal. Okay, it was with a wage cut, but good. He never deserved to be on 375k a week. You know, that
granted,
puts
yeah,
him
he did.
in
I'll be
probably
honest, yeah,
the top 5 earners in the Premier League, probably at the
yeah.
time. You
Well,
know, for a goalkeeper. No,
I
that's a goalkeeper should never be anywhere near that.
I agree with what you're
And
saying. Point that
he
like
turned it down. You know, all right, he might have come back at a later date and said, "Actually, I will take that." But in the first instance, he turned it down. Now, if he hadn't turned that down initially, and he'd have just said, "Yeah, cool, yeah, I'll take. Do you know what? I'll sign the contract with a reduced wage," then it all would have been done and dusted. But instead, he tried to hold out and get more money. And then when he realised that wasn't going to happen, he finally turned around and said, "Oh, I'll take the contract." And then they went, "No, it's no longer on offer." I don't think you can really blame the club for that.
what I would say. I agree with you that no player should be on 375k a week, especially as a keeper, right? But I feel like, especially I've always felt this for a long time since that World Cup. He's really been just a scapegoat for United when it comes to, mistakes and all this crack. I'll be honest, right? When you look at the team we've had for the last few years, we are getting better. There's no doubt about that. But the year after, give or take after Jose, right? When you look at that team, the fact they even got second was a miracle, right? It was. We had a very bang average team, and the fact that we somehow got second was a miracle, right? But there were so many problems that kept popping up, and I think exactly when you look at like Ed Woodward, especially offering these ludicrous contracts to these bang average players, right? That became more of a problem, and I think especially when you look at the defense that he's had over the years, Luke Shaw is the most consistent one we've had over the years, right? And well, he's most consistent and inconsistent at the same time because he's had both ups and downs during his career. But when you look at the centre back pairing, like I said, he's never had a consistent pairing.
But the defense, your defense
or,
does
or
not.
even midfield. I'll
Your
be honest.
defense does not control whether or not De Gea comes out to collect a cross. Okay, your defense does not control De Gea letting in shots at his near post time and time again. The defense is not responsible for him making a poor pass and giving the ball away. And those are things that we saw him do over and over and over again over the last few years. He's not good with his feet. His pass selection's poor. He doesn't come out to claim. I think he had one of the lowest high claim rates in the league at one point. I'm not saying that he wasn't a good goalkeeper for you guys. He was brilliant once upon a time. But I think,
The game changed.
the
and it
game
didn't
has
change
changed
over.
massively. The game has changed massively, and especially for goalkeepers. There's a big difference between goalkeepers now and goalkeepers 10, 15 years ago.
And that's
And
I can
while
make
he was a brilliant top goalkeeper for you 10 years ago, and he was really good for a good few years, he hasn't changed his game, and he hasn't, worked on
And he
his
attempted to.
mistakes.
He did attempt to, and it was just painful to watch.
What I think is just especially, right, don't get me wrong, right, I do think, he had to improve, but he just didn't. And the fact is, eventually he had to move on because we had to get better at some point, and goalkeeper was going to be the topic of conversation at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think when you look at it, especially from the transfer window, right, and especially from the last few years, we've had so many problems that weren't addressed. Like for me, CDM was never addressed until Casemiro came in.
Mm-hmm.
That
I
big,
agree.
right? Striker was also another problem that we had as well. When we had Ronaldo, obviously shit fucking hit the fan, unfortunately, and what happened. And then we had to resort to players like Weghorst and fucking Martial, and now we've got Højlund, right? So the selection of strikers hasn't been good enough as well, right? So when you look at that, it's just been a complete shit show, right? And I'll be honest, De Gea was not the best, right?
Also, you just mentioned Ronaldo there. This is not relevant to this, but you claim Maguire is disrespectful to the club, but you're Ronaldo's biggest fanboy.
But let's be real. How many times has Harry Maguire made a mistake? How many times has Ronaldo made a mistake at the club?
Ronaldo literally went to Piers Morgan and talked shit about our manager.
Harry Maguire has not played a single good game for us in this club. Ronaldo's carried us. He carried us.
He has.
He has not. Name it. I asked.
Like this whole first couple of seasons, he was decent for you guys.
Let's sing. That was when we were just playing, go lucky football and just praying to God that everything.
But you rated Ollie.
I rated Ollie because it was better than what we were playing beforehand, right? Because let's be real, Jose football.
None of this makes sense. None of this makes sense at all.
It does.
Go lucky football. You rated Ollie. Maguire's disrespectful. He loves Ronaldo. None of it makes sense.
Listen, when Ronaldo was carrying us through that Champions League, you weren't complaining. I'll let you know that for a fact.
He carried us to the round of 16.
I think, RJ, you were a bit contradictory at times.
Oh, come on. Listen, you definitely have biases towards certain players. We all do,
and we all do. Yeah, I know that's what I was going to say. We all do, but I think with the De Gea situation, he was offered a contract, and like you say, he accepted it in the end, but he refused it at the start. And you're saying about the club went about it the wrong way, but if he'd accepted that contract straight off the bat, he'd still be at your club now.
I understand what you mean, right? Don't get me wrong. What I think from the De Gea situation was the only thing we said about him was just a simple text on Twitter or Instagram, like announcement saying thank you, whatever it was. There was no proper send off or like a testimonial match. Right?
Lingard didn't get a send off.
Oh, come on. Don't talk to me about Lingard, man. Are you telling me that Lingard deserved one over De Gea?
Lingard scored the winning goal in the FA Cup final.
Be arse, man.
What did De Gea do?
It's over here.
He let in 11 penalties in a row.
Oh, yeah, but you're not going to talk about how Rashford missed a fucking sitter in that game as well, like.
You're going to talk about how Ronaldo missed a penalty against Middlesbrough, which eventually led us to go out.
Oh, come on. We knew what happened in that game, Matt. Come on.
Ronaldo missed a penalty and De Gea. I was Dean Henderson, to be fair, actually. Yeah. Ronaldo missed a penalty.
But listen, right? It's just the fact.
I mean, De Gea didn't save 11 penalties in a row and then missed his own on top of that.
Listen, there's things that's happened, right? I just thought the club could have done a lot better, and I think everyone agrees that they could have done a lot better than just saying.
I don't agree. I don't agree at all.
Off, Matt. What are you the fuck?
You know what? We done the best by him by giving him that much money for 4 fucking years for him to provide average performances.
12 years at the club, and you're gonna say, nah, all he deserves was a text.
12 years, and he wanted gone after 6 or however long it was. He wanted gone in 2015.
Ronaldo, so what are we gonna do about Ronaldo when he left in 2009?
Same thing.
Well, we did say thank you, Ronaldo, as well. That's the fucking thing.
We didn't give him a testimonial, did we? We took our money and
there was no that we couldn't because the fact is that he left. So there's a difference.
Keane left. We gave him a testimonial.
It was in different terms, though.
Kane had worse terms.
What?
Do you know how? Do
RJ,
you know
RJ,
how
are
Kane
you
actually died?
are you not happier having Onana than De Gea?
I mean, it's
He
funnier
obviously is.
when he fucking clotheslines fucking Wolves players. Don't get me wrong, but he is a lot better. Yes, I'm happy that we have a better keeper. Yes, but I'm just still upset the fact that De Gea got treated like shit. Right? Simple. I think that's fair.
He didn't get
I think-
treated like shit. He treated us like shit.
Oh God, stop.
He did. He took us for mugs, and then we called his bluff. And
Listen, he's
look
not
at him
done
now.
for
He's
mugs.
unemployed. He's unemployed.
Oh my God.
Are you not? Does the lack of clubs interested in signing him? Do you not find that quite interesting, RJ?
I find it kind of disappointing, honest to God. I feel for him,
It
genuinely.
was almost like I was right.
Shut up.
All them times I was complaining, I was right. Not disrespectful, I was right.
But listen, do you know what the funny thing is? Dean Henderson's gone, so I'm happy. That's all.
He's employed too.
Yeah, well, Crystal Palace. Yeah, good luck.
He's
to him.
employed.
I mean, he's playing for a Premier League team, mate, which is more than you can say for David De Gea.
It's grand, sure.
That's true.
I think at least he's not. At least he's not our number one anymore. I'm fine. That's.
Then Dean Henderson was never our number one
He was when De Gea was out for a month, and then you were like getting.
because he was
So-
good. He was good.
But that still makes him your number two if he's playing because De Gea's out.
Well, there was a potential of him starting over De Gea at one point. I
Because
remember.
that bad the
And he
hair was.
probably should have, yeah.
But thankfully, he's gone. So that's the.
There was no reason for that hatred as well. There's
There
a bit
was.
of a theme here. There is a bit of a
Was.
theme, and it's the nationality of these players.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, what nationality is Rashford? All right. What nationality is Shaw?
You
Okay.
you
Never mind.
blasted Rashford for missing at the sitter in the Europa League final earlier.
Well, that's the truth. That's not slander. That's the truth.
He didn't
miss.
mention Ronaldo missing any sitters last season.
Well, no, he did miss a few sitters. Now, I'll be honest. Yeah, he did.
Oh, he said that really low though. You were really high and confident about Rashford missing one.
Oh, screw you, man. Honest God.
Never heard this by Pogba either.
Oh, I've already said so much about Pogba. Don't get me wrong, man.
Please don't get RJ started on Pogba.
Yeah.
That's one player that he did quite gladly slander. I'll give him that.
Which was
Yeah, but
also a bit harsh, actually, looking back
was
at it.
not.
No. Pogba deserved it.
I'm sorry. If you pay at least over 80 million for a player, I want him to be scoring wonders. Like, do you know what I mean?
So if
Like-
Hoyland doesn't start scoring 30
That's what I was
this
just
season,
about to
you're
say.
against
So
him?
you're expecting a lot out of Hoyland then, yeah?
No, I literally said I didn't want Hoyland for fuck's sake. I literally said Ferguson.
Oh, here's another slander person.
Yeah, but
for
you've paid £75 million for him. So realistically,
Well,
by your logic, he better get off to a flying start.
I'm hoping he does. I hope he does. But
And
I'm
if he
not,
doesn't, are you going to be slandering him?
I probably, yeah.
That's ridiculous. He's a
I'll
child.
give him 6 months. I'll give him 6 months. If he doesn't do anything, then
In 6 months, he turns what, 21?
Well, listen, I'll just tell you this.
But
now.
you paid £75 million for him,
Yeah.
so
Listen,
Oh, Jesus.
Chelsea, they spent 105 million on Enzo Fernandez. And look at him now. He's one of the best midfielders in the league. So that's what you expect for you to say that. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, you look at Lisandro Martinez, right? We spent, 55 million on him, give or take? And he's one of our best players, right? On his day.
What do you think about Anthony?
He offers a lot, but he's I hate the fact that he's so one-footed. Because the reason why he offers a lot is because he's the only right winger in the club that's actually left-footed.
He's the only right winger in the club, basically, is what he says.
No,
Yeah, but being a left-footed right winger does not mean that you offer a lot, does it? If you're saying he offers a lot, and the only thing that you can think of that he offers is that he has a left foot, that's not promising, is it, RJ?
No. What the way he does, like he spreads out the play, he fucking does. He knows how Ten Hag plays, and he does it somewhat well. And as in this first season, I'll say now, he had a good first season, I think. Right?
I agree. I personally agree, but
Second-
what you're saying about
We'll see what
players costing certain amounts of money, it doesn't
Because-
make sense.
I
you look-
think
you look at the game.
personally, personally, from an outsider view, I think he stifles your attack too much.
I think we've seen that this season already. Yeah, he has.
I think he tries to do too much,
But I also would argue that we play worse with him.
and I think he's very one-dimensional. And I think it's quite easy to defend because you know exactly what he wants to do every time.
But
There's
you
one
can
thing.
also
There's
see how
one
we
thing on
play.
his mind.
We play better with him in the squad.
I agree. Yeah, he do. The thing about him is on that right hand side, you know he's doing his job on the right hand side. But when you look at players like Rashford, for me, right, he should not be a striker because the thing is, and I've said this time and time again, when he's up top, he overcomplicates everything. Right, as a striker, you do the 1-2, or you're in the box and you nail it. That's the job of the striker, right? He takes extra touches, thinks, oh, I can do this and that. And that's the thing about Rashford I just don't like. He just overcomplicates things. And there's a lot of other players who do that, right? Bruno, another one. Bruno in his first season just did the basics and did a bit of extra flair, and he was one of the best players in the league. Now he's overcomplicating things, trying to do these mystical balls and all this crack that, it does not work because we just don't have the squad for it, unfortunately. So, listen, there's a lot of problems, don't get me wrong. I can even talk about Casemiro, but I think we'll move on from that.
I think we should probably move on from the stream in general, as it is midnight and the transfer
realised
window
that.
is dead and buried now.
Yeah.
But no, it's been interesting. It's been nice to hear your opinions, and I think we will be back probably next week now for another preview.
Sounds good.
Go. Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
But thank you for joining me tonight, boys. I appreciate the effort.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
And I will see you both next time.
Peace.